Now, it takes guts to fly to the US, address an international conference on childhood brain cancer, and demand the world's best doctors and scientists get on a plane and come over here to give us answers. That's exactly what one Townsville dad has done. And it's Ren Pedersen. He's joined us in the studio this morning. Good morning, Ren.
G'day, Andy. Good to see you.
Thank you for coming in. You've been a busy lad the last couple of days.
Yeah. Rest is rust.
You flew to the other side of the world to meet with the brightest international minds in research into cancer, particularly childhood cancer. Tell us all about it. What were you doing over in the US?
I was invited to go over there, Andy. My organisation, the Cure Starts Now, we raise funds for, we're dedicated to saving the lives of Aussie kids tortured to death through various cancers, and the scientists and researchers that we've been dealing with are convinced that by targeting the toughest paediatric brain tumours, a myriad of other medical applications beckon. So what we have done is assembled the best of the best, and what the concept that I'm using, Andy, is aligned with what Kerry Packer did in the 1970s with cricket. He had picked all the best players in the world, brought them all in one forum, and created a thing called World Series Cricket, which has revolutionised the game. So to dumb it down a bit, we're doing the same thing. So we've handpicked the world's leading researchers, oncologists, clinicians, neurosurgeons, sticking them all in one forum, and then just demanding answers and getting them to fast track things, Andy. And let me tell you, a lot of egos involved, a lot of headbutting involved, but we find that personal interactions are just so important, and we owe it to our cancer kids and brain tumour kids, a number of whom here in Townsville, as you know. Believe me, Townsville is actually well recognised in the circles of medical science. So that's it.
Due in no small part to the work yourself, that you've done here with your team with the Cure Starts Now.
We have a good little team. I have a board of prominent local businessmen behind me, Andy. I'm actually just a crane driver. I go to these things and I'm the dumbest person in the room, but that's okay. We're fortunate enough to liaise with people, know that if we give our word, it's gospel, and all that will be culminating next year in Sydney, Andy, in the start of August next year is where we'll be assembling at the Pullman in Sydney, and there'll be dignitaries of the highest order involved. And a little ironic, I watched on the news yesterday that local business and chambers are trying to court interest from Singapore and other areas. Well, we did that 4 or 5 years ago. I actually sat on the stage at ISPNO in Singapore and told the world what we're doing, and frustratingly we couldn't get a lot of interest to host an event here in Townsville, so we've had to go to Singapore. So you have to stay ahead of the game with what we're doing. The children who are suffering with our brain tumours and many cancers, Andy, don't have limited time, so my organisation and those of us behind the scenes have a unique perception on time, so we act far urgently. We're getting things done while other people are talking about it, Andy.
You call yourself a boy from the burbs of Birdell. You end up on stage at an international medical symposium in Washington. Did you ever envisage that this is the path that you would take?
Negative. I'm just a simple guy, but I managed when our daughter was ill, Andy, I managed to personally befriend and become acquainted with Australia's leading scientists, oncologists, blah blah. That in turn I've just formed personal relationships with people, and that's how we are. We're not a corporate entity, and I have to be able to look our sponsors in the eye and tell them we all work hard for our money. I'm just a Jackie House singlet wearing type of guy, but if you give me your money, I guarantee you that we will give you maximum bang for your buck. Now, especially at this time, there are a myriad of other charities that people think that business is tough. They want to try running a charity.
There's so many hands out for that charity dollar, isn't there? And all doing good things.
All doing good things, but what we are doing with our organisation and the coalitions that we're forming, Andy, is we're trying to streamline processes. A myriad of charities out there raising funds for individuals and putting and doing good things for abstract causes, whatever, putting plaques on park benches and all that. Fantastic, and it's a feel-good exercise to give to these things. But if businesses and individuals, especially here in Townsville, Queensland, Australia, are brave enough to target a holistic cancer cure by targeting children's brain tumours, there's no fat to trim with what we do. We're all volunteers. Everyone aligned with us all does it for nothing. Thoroughly accountable. We can show you where every single cent has gone. We give all our donation money to research, 100%.
And that's more than 3 million since you started up the Australian branch.
I've raised probably around about 1.5 million here in Australia, and probably with I help out a few other groups as well, Andy. So 3 million we've been involved with raising here in Australia, and internationally with our partnerships in Washington. We touched on this when I was over there 2 weeks ago, Andy. It'll be a collective involvement of 8 million that we've funded. We've funded nearly 60 international research projects. Actually, 70, with roughly 10%. There's 6 here in Australia that we funded, brand new medical treatments designed to elevate our brain tumour and cancer kids out of the clinic and back to their homes and families, Andy.
And it's a matter, as you said, it's getting rid of that duplication of research by a number of different organisations. It's streamlining, bringing them all together and getting them all working from the same page, isn't it?
Especially what I learned when we first started. Every institution are doing fantastic research in their own little sphere, but there's a lot of intellectual property, and it's a very guarded environment. And again, just coming from a crane driver's mentality, I sort of looked at it as everyone's playing poker, very guarded with their hands. Everyone thinks that their people are the best, their hands are the best. So how do you get them to play open-handed poker, Andy? How do you get them to lay the card?
Yeah.
Well, what you do, you get bigger pools of money in the centre. So what we did is we've thrown more and more. I think, Andy, we've thrown nearly $400,000 just in the last 18 months at local research. Then what we also did was, if you work in conjunction with another institution, we'll double your grant. So that has worked phenomenally well, and it's actually been a bit of a epiphany with Australian institutions who were a little bit behind the times with research, their openness, whereas now, that's part of the reason why we're showcasing Australian research involvements next year in Sydney. We're setting the standard. It's our Australian research institutions, primarily funded by the Cure Starts Now and our collaborative friends, are showing the world. It's a big thing.
You can work together and not lose any of that intellectual property. It's for the greater good.
Exactly. And they realise that. I mentioned before, Andy, I'm not a particularly smart guy, but I sit in these forums, and the survival rate from these kids with brain tumours from the clinicians actually mirror my own. I'm none from one, and it's a similar sort of success rate. So that is a big equaler, and they do realise that. At the end of the day, we've all got to row the boat together, and we've got to be in unison. And I just urge any other Townsville charities out there to feel free to contact us, because this big undertaking next year at the Pullman in Sydney, probably going to be one of the most important medical conferences, symposium ever to be held in this country. So if anyone would like to be a part of it in whatever level, we welcome. We're just forever screaming to embrace more interest and on that front as well, Andy.
Ren, thank you very much for coming in this morning. The work you're doing is absolutely incredible, and we will be keeping in touch regarding what's happening with that symposium.
I told you last time we met, Andy, I was just getting warmed up, and I'll stick to my word. Thanks again.
You are a man of your word. Thank you very much to Ren Pedersen there. The Cure Starts Now, the Australian founding member and one of Townsville's own.